Hey, welcome back, everybody. I got one story, another story for you. When I was on the Wichita department, I went into the turnout one morning, and they said, "Hey, we got a fella that we need to bring in and talk to. He's a biker, and there was a big biker party last night." And a young lady and her boyfriend came in and to the hospital early this morning and said that this fellow had sexually assaulted her. And so they said, well, it's kind of questionable because of who she is and her reputation and the fact that it happened at a biker party. But we still need to bring this guy in and talk to him. So I says, okay, fine. We'll just call him Butch Klein. That's not his real name in case his mom's watching. But his mom will recognize the story if she's out there. So I left turnout, and I think to myself, well, you know what? I know this guy. I've never dealt with him. But I've talked to his mother before on a burglary case. So I go over to his mom's house, and I said, hi, Miss Klein, how you doing? She said, fine. I said, do you happen to know where Butch is today? She said, well, yeah, he's right here in the house. Come on. So I followed her in the living room. Sure enough, Butch is sitting there in a chair. Now, you got to remember, he's a biker. He's over 6 foot. I don't know how much over 6 foot, but he's over 6 foot. And just husky, stout. Not really fat, just a big son of a gun. And so I said, hey, Butch, how you doing? Well, okay, what do you want? I said, well, there's a young lady that was at a party last night you were at. Yeah, I was at the such and such biker's party. And I said, well, she came in and said that you sexually assaulted her. And so I've got to take you down and let you talk to the detectives. And I told his mom, I said, hey, you know, we don't know what the deal is, if it's true or not, but we do have to take him down and let him talk to the detectives, see if we'll get it straightened out. And so Butch looked at me and said, well, you know, she's a lying bitch. And I said, well, be that as it may, Butch, we still have to take you down and let the detectives talk to you to work this out. And he kind of sat forward in his chair and he said, you know, I can whip your ass. And I stood there thinking to myself, okay, here I am by myself in the house with this biker who I have just accused of raping a girl. That what was going through my mind is, are they going to wait till I get out of the hospital to give me the dumbass of a war today, or are they going to go ahead and give it to me while I'm laying there? And so I said, Butch, I said, you know what, there's no doubt in my mind that you can whip my ass. I said, doesn't even slither in there. And he says, okay. I said, but you know what, if we start a fight to take you in, then I have to call for backup. Other cops come, we get in a big fight, they tear up your mom's living room. But bottom line is, you'll still be going down there and you'll just make it a bigger mess. I said, why don't we just go down, talk to the detectives. If they turn you loose, by golly, I'll bring you back home. He told me that if I could take him to work when we got done, that would be better. I said, sure, I can take you to work when we're done. He looked at me and says, well, you know I can whip your ass. I said, Butch, I think we covered that earlier, but if we need to go over it again, yeah, no problem. No doubt in my mind you can whip my ass. So we go out to the car, and I said, now, Butch, you know procedure. I got to put these handcuffs on you. You know, this is I brought these handcuffs to illustrate. See how my wrist goes in there. And I'm not a small guy, but the handcuffs wouldn't go around his wrists. His wrists were too big. So I told him, I said, well, Butch, we're just going to have to pretend you're handcuffed and while I take you downtown. He just shrugged his shoulders. So I called in and notified the detectives that we were bringing him down for an interview. And so we got downtown, and I took him up the interview room and took him in there. And, of course, the handcuffs that were on the table there, bolted to the table, they wouldn't fit around his wrists. So I went out, and the detectives were standing out there, and I said, well, I've got Butch in the room there if you want to talk to him. And one detective says, well, is he cuffed to the table? I said, well, no, the handcuffs wouldn't fit. They gave me some ankle cuffs, and they said, well, cuff him to the table, and then we're going to talk to him. So I went in there, and I said, Butch, I said, apparently everybody up here knows you can whip their ass. So I've got to handcuff you to the table with these things. He just kind of giggled, said, okay. And I did that, talked to the detectives, they went in and talked to him. Well, come to find out, Butch had run-ins with the police before, and so he had a couple of assaulting an officer, resisting arrest, that kind of stuff. So he had a reputation of not liking the police. Well, gosh, it wasn't but a few minutes, and the detectives came out and said, well, you can take him. We believe his story. So I picked him up, and I took him to work, and he didn't thank me. I guess there's something in the biker code where you can't thank a cop for anything, but he just said, okay, and got out, and I dropped him off at work. But for any of you guys out there that are police, sometimes you just need to let these guys have their ego trip. And not challenge him. But in this case, it wasn't even a question of that, because he really could have whipped my ass. So there was no question. Well, that's my Butch story. Remember, we put the FU in fun, and we'll see you next time.